Good evening. Hello, this is Pamela Bailey, starting late because, starting late. I didn't get into Facebook Live as the way I thought that I would. And so this is how it's going. It is going the way that it is, and I am here with you tonight to share about Joyous June, No Complaints. And I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm a practitioner at the Center for Spiritual Living, Pleasant Valley, and I've been there for 20 years as a practitioner and for 30 years, goodness gracious, how did that happen? Tonight, I am going to talk about Joyous June and what that is, and it really is committing to spend the month of June not complaining. That is, watching myself so that I do not complain during this month. And then I'm going to talk a bit about what happens when you don't complain, and then what you can do if you're not liking how things are going or what someone is doing. And then a warning, a final scripture verse, and an invitation. So, to start off, how did I come up with this topic? Well, around the beginning of June, I was noticing that I was kind of feeling grungy about stuff and all of that. And then I remembered a long time ago I took on this challenge of going 30 days without complaining. And I thought, wow, I could do that again. And so I did. And the first thing that I remembered once again is that what you notice first of all is, gosh, I complain so much. And it's just habitual and it's persistent and it's actually related to the design of our brains, which is to survive. And to survive, we look out for anything that could be dangerous or that could be less than life enhancing, and we talk about it or whatever. So that's the first thing I noticed, is that yes, there I was complaining again. And the other thing that had happened years ago when I took on the challenge is I would start, and then a few days later I'd complain, and I'd start again, and a few days later, I'd complain again. Finally, I got up to 17 days, and it's like, all right, this time I'm going to get to the 30 days. And I did. That was the good news. The not so good news was, gosh, not only did I get to it after several tries, but after doing it for 30 days and not complaining, there was a shift. But unfortunately, the other habits were so firmly entrenched that that good habit of not complaining did not persist. So coming back to there was one other thing I wanted to say. At that time, there was a movement, and they printed up these wristbands that said, they were bright magenta, and they said, "A world without complaints." Wow, wouldn't that be an awesome place? All right, so this year, early June, I had one of those aha moments, like, if I didn't think about complaining instead of taking action or whatever, then I wouldn't do so much of it and my life would work much better. So I said, all right, 30 days, starting now. I was sharing, there's a group of friends that I talk to most every morning, and I was sharing about it, and somebody said, oh, I'm going to take that on too, and somebody else says, oh, me too. I think that's a really great idea. It'll be interesting. It is, I promise you. So someone came up with the idea of, well, let's call it Joyous June. Cool, great idea. A few took it on from there, and then I was talking about it in some other groups of people, and a few other people said, yeah, that's a really great idea. I'm going to be doing it too. So again, I warned everyone, be careful, because the first thing you'll notice is how habitually you do complain. So here's an example. I live in Woodland Hills. It's June. It's the start of summer. It's hot. That is just how it is. It's 100% going to happen that it's going to be hot in the next few months. Air conditioning is expensive, and I don't like those power bills. Well, complaining about it makes no difference. In fact, it focuses me more on what I don't like. So what could I do? Well, I could plan my day so that at the hottest part of the day, I was someplace where it wasn't so hot. I could go to the library or to the beach or to a friend's house where it's not so hot. And then the other thing is that I can just, say, hey, what do you do when it gets super hot? And I could find out what works for other people. And I do know a few other things to do. Eat light food, drink plenty of water, do stay out of the sun, wear light clothing, etc. So in fact, even the things that I complain about that I really can't do anything about, I can actually mitigate some of that. So the most persistent complaint, you still have options. So another area we complain about is people who consistently don't do what we want them to do. Can you imagine that? I've learned over the years, what a surprise, that nagging is a really bad idea. It's tiring for the nagger, it's annoying to the naggee, rarely does it have a good effect, i.e., what you want that person to do doesn't get done, and especially if it shows up as a complaint or including always or you never or you always. So instead, make a clear request. That clear request could look like, an example recently in my life. I have this young housemate whose relationship to when to do tasks is different than mine. The little cube that you use to charge your phone, that had burned out and wasn't charging my phone. And he had changed phones, and so I knew that he had at least one extra around somewhere. I asked him about it, and he said, oh yeah, I think I have one. I'll look for it and get it to you. Well, that was one day. A couple days later, I said, hey, could you look for that? He said, oh yeah, and then no cube showed up. A couple days more, and it's like, all right, you're not going to nag, you're not going to complain. So one time when he was home and I knew there was nothing pressing, I said, hey, could you just go up and look for that cube right now and see if you have it and tell me if you don't? Within 2 minutes, the cube was in my hand. Now, what was different? Well, I made a specific request that was time-bound. That makes a difference. And everyone was happy. I have a charger for my phone, and he doesn't have me wondering when he's going to do the thing that he did promise to do. And I can assure you, he knows that he promised to do it. Okay, I'm not saying that it's natural or easy to take the high road and not complain or say something positive or ask for what you want. I have a friend who was part of this group of friends, well, actually the extension of that group, who took on being complaint-free for the month. And she was involved with her romantic partner in this long road race where she was the support in this small van as they did this long road race. And all that was happening is complain from the partner. Complain about the bike, about the course, about the and about her a lot. And she was committed that she wasn't going to get sucked into it. She wasn't going to create an argument. She was going to say something positive, or she was going to make a request when those things happened. And she must be a saint, and she did that whole time. Now, what I can tell you is that their relationship transformed, and they survived it, and the partner was just like, how did you do that? And so she shared about committing to holding the high watch and not complaining. So here's another one of my simple thoughts and about asking for what you want versus complaining. I'm short, and when I go to the grocery store, a lot of the time, what I want is on the high shelf, and I can't reach it. And I could sit there and I could grumble and I could say, oh darn, the thing I wanted is always on that high shelf and I can't reach it. Or, this is my favorite approach, look around and find a tall person and ask them, would you please get me that can of whatever it is? I've never been refused. They always smile and they give it to me. And it's kind of a fun interchange. It's a benefit for both of us when what happens is someone has a need, a request is made, it's fulfilled, and both people go away feeling happier. Okay, back to this thing of When there's something going on that you don't like or you think is preventing you from creating what you want, I have this young friend who's signed up for a weekend course. Now, he lives with two other young men, and they can be boisterous at times. And this weekend course is, of course, on the computer, and he would be at home, but he wants quiet in order to do the course. And he's been very resigned about, I can't do the course because my roommates, da-da-da-da-da. That said, oh, well, what if you started sharing with people you know, and you know a lot of people, that you're taking this course and you would really like to have a quiet place to do all or part of it? I bet that among the people you know or the people they talk to, there's somebody who has a place that you could come and do your course, and they would be happy to have you. All of a sudden, his whole energy shifted, and he said, oh, you know, I probably do know somebody who could have a place and who would let me use it. So it hasn't manifested yet, but in fact, he has shifted to, instead of complaining about what's not likable, that he doesn't have a quiet place to do his course, that in fact he would be asking for what he does want, which is a quiet place to do his course, and doing so could benefit him and whoever it is who volunteers that wonderful place. All right. And it can take some time to discern what it is that you want, what's really important. As you look deeper, what you discover sometimes surprises you. Sometimes what you want is a pretty little thing, and other times it's life-changing. But be careful. In either case, keep looking and keep asking. And be careful in that asking. Do not make demands, or worse yet, I would say, tell people what they should do. You know, if you da-da-da, then you should da-da-da. No, it's like you ask, so, and I know I can do that. It's like, gosh, don't they see that they should do whatever? No. They don't see it, because maybe if they did see it, they would be doing it. In any case, that said, what is wanted by you and by them is probably a more harmonious relationship. And in any case, asking is way better than telling, and particularly way better than guilting or shaming. So sometimes, okay. There's another pitfall here, and that is when asking, instead of asking for what you want or how it could be achieved or who could be part of it or even where or when, if instead you ask why is it that, da-da-da, and that thing is always something negative, and never, never, never is that going to lead any place good. An example of, okay, so asking why, generally, it engenders guilt, shame, blame, defensiveness, and distance in the relationship, not what's wanted. So sometimes why is, okay, one last thing, I'm sorry, going back to that. Whatever it is that happened that you didn't like, or that was hurtful or whatever, it did happen, and we can't change that. So this holy moment right now is the only time that we have to live. So let us not waste that. Let us do what's needed, forgive it, and move on. So sometimes this is when those rare occasions that the why is really a what, as in what happened and what can I learn from it. So my good example of this is one evening I was driving out to Westlake to an event, Friday evening at 6 o'clock, and I noticed smoke coming out from under the hood of my car. Well, I pulled over to where it was safe. It actually wasn't smoke, it was steam, and my car had totally overheated. Fortunately, I was safe and all of that, and eventually was able to get towed off and get it taken care of. The only thing that was amiss was a broken hose. Now, the thing is, I was driving. The instrument panel had that little indicator going up, 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 up. and the steam going out, 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 out. And it took me a while to realize it. Now, at that point, there really was no way to repair it because, of course, it was a broken hose. But the lesson here is pay attention, and less ill things will happen. All that said, that was why. That why was useful. And so perhaps I have the mechanic check the hoses to make sure that none are deteriorating. And when you're asking someone about something that you want them to do anew or differently, it's always better to ask, what can I do to support you in being, for instance, on time, rather than, why are you always late? Or what can I do to help you be on time? Those are useful questions because perhaps there is something that you could do versus, why are you always late? You get the drift. And some of those why questions simply cannot be answered, and we just need to let them be. So human behavior can be messy sometimes and often cannot be explained. Bottom line, we all do the best we can with what we have. And our parents did that when they were raising us, and our friends and associates do that. And sometimes all it takes is a new flash of awareness. We do not add any benefit or any value ever by explaining or by complaining. We can generously accept things as they are and do that with grace. And then we can start looking at what is wanted, how to get there, and who can help us. And part of what can be done is I can change my point of view. Maybe it's not truly that necessary. So, one of the things I would like to share with you before we close, so once again, just looking at what we talked about, it's Joyous June because there's a commitment not to complain, and not complaining opens things up to create that which is wanted. And I have to confess, this is as good a place as any, I'm creating a joyous July because a couple days ago I messed up and I got angry and I complained and I did some other things that weren't exactly the way I intended them to be. However, I'm human, I'm starting again, and that's how it is. So when there's something that you don't like, notice it. Then notice what could be done, whether you could do something or whether you can ask somebody. And then remember that we create our world with our words. Whatever we focus on, we get more of. And be vigilant in monitoring what comes out of your mouth. I would like to close with a Bible verse from Philippians, well, it's actually a passage from Philippians 4:7-9. Finally, this is from St. Paul to the Philippians. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. And then he says, whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. So knowing that what we truly want in this world is to have a purpose, to be peaceful, and to have joy as we live our lives moment to moment, let us remember Paul's words, and I invite you to join me in having a joyous July. And so it is. Thank you.